This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by dan'sinnkandtoner.com, Ink and Toner, and a whole lot more, and CollideMagazine.com and The Collide Show, where the church and media converge. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. Oh Christmas tree, where have the three wise men and Jesus gone? Well, they've gone to the desk, and they're joined by a special friend. We have Dwight Schrute, Colonel Sanders, Little Whitey, and of course, bringing in the Christmas spirit, it's Yoda and Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, as you all know, the three wise men actually didn't visit Jesus during Christmas, but we still talk about them like they came that day. But I digress. This is the last show of this year. We're going to be taping tonight. We're going to be taping shows for all of January because, well, we have Christmas, the New Year, and my wedding and my honeymoon, and I have to get all the work done for my normal job on top of it all. So we're going to do a whole bunch ahead of time, and we're going to cover, this is going to be our last full episode, and then we're going to be doing some smaller ones. But then in the new year, a whole lot new coming for you. We're going to have a lot of new things. I'm not going to tell them about you today, but just know that there's a lot of cool stuff coming, including, I'll give you one sneak peek, we will have a new website for the show, which will include the Church Media Design blog, which should be awesome because I suck at spelling, so you guys can come check out my daily and weekly spelling errors over at the Church Media Design TV blog. But if the three wise men, Jesus, and of course Yoda are ready, let's get into it. Well, since I'm sending you off to your holiday break, I thought I should leave you with some things to check out and some things to be excited for the future. And these are some different websites that I've come across lately that are a little bit bigger and have a little bit more meaning behind them than just some random inspiration. So I didn't really want to throw them to you that way. I wanted to give them to you as kind of these nuggets to chew on for your holiday break and beyond. So the first site is jellytelly.com. Jellytelly.com is now in beta, and it is from the creator of VeggieTales, Phil Vischer. Now, Phil used to be at VeggieTales, was the creator and the genius behind it, and has since left and has an unbelievable story. I got to hear it via a Willow conference a while back, and it's just an amazing story of what was going on and what led to him leaving and kind of where and why VeggieTales is where it's at today. But this is his newest project, and it is for, he talks about how we have very limited time with our kids on a Sunday morning to dive into their lives, and then this is supposed to be more like a Disney Channel type of atmosphere for kids to be able to go in and interact with these messages and ideas on a weekly and daily basis. So Jellytelly has games and videos, and you can find out a whole lot more about their site. You can create an account and check out all the different cool things. So I would encourage you guys to check out Jellytelly Beta. Now, along the same lines is IamSecond.com. Now, it's on the same lines because it's, well, Christian. And IamSecond.com is a collection of stories from more celebrity type people, celebrities, musicians, professional athletes, and that kind of thing. And you can hear their story and how they are second because Christ is first in their life. And that's the whole idea behind IamSecond.com. And these stories are very powerful, very well shot. They're really cool illustrations. I really hope they allow you a way to save these and so that you can use these as a sermon illustration or that kind of thing, because they'd be very powerful. But I want to encourage you guys to check out IamSecond.com, just a really, really great site. And then the last site is BlueLikeJazzTheMovie.com. Now, Blue Like Jazz is the famous award-winning book by author and speaker Donald Miller. Now, Donald Miller wrote this book some years back, and it made it onto, Barnes & Noble top 10 lists. It made it onto the New York Times bestseller list. It just hit it huge, and it's been this huge book for quite some time. Well, at the Echo Conference this year, Donald Miller talked about how he was approached, and there is a movie coming out. And I would encourage you to go check out at least this little video here. It is quite funny. Donald Miller and Steve Taylor discuss Blue Like Jazz, the movie, the director, and it's pretty funny how they start it. They're like, okay, so we're going to do this interview, and now we're going to do cut shots of expressions and that kind of stuff. But anyway, check out and stay in touch with what's going on with Blue Like Jazz, the movie. It's going to be interesting. I don't understand how it's going to work. I somewhat question what's going on with Donald Miller these days, but I know he's doing some great stuff, so who knows, but it's something to keep in mind. So check out jellytelly.com, iamsecond.com, and bluelikejazzthemovie.com, and dive into some of these things over your holiday season. Now, I know this episode is releasing roughly 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and so talking about Christmas stuff is a little late to the game, but I thought I would show you some of the stuff that I've been working on for the church that I work at, and some of the things that I've been learning lately that I think you guys might enjoy and might be able to use in the future for worship background, or maybe even use just in this winter season, especially those of you in places that actually have snow. Because I keep getting messages from you people in Dallas saying, hey, it's 75 here and you're talking about snow. It's like, who cares, man? I got snow, you don't. You suck, because I wish I didn't have snow, but anyway, we'll keep moving on. So we're going to go through, this is a background that I created. We were doing a series called Christmas Lights, as you can see here. We got our little logo. And the way that I created this is I went into Photoshop. I can actually pull up, let's pull up real quick. I forgot to open this, so we'll just pull up Photoshop real fast. So I went into Photoshop. I used the same technique we had talked about a few weeks ago of using the channels to figure out our alpha and to do selection. So let me just open this real fast. So I used the same ideas we had talked about a few weeks back as far as selections go to build up this composition. I went on and I found a great image of this snowy forest scene. And it was pretty dull looking. The sky is like pure white. The snow is pretty white. There's some good trees in the background. I actually duplicated over here just to stretch out the scene. I started with my composition at HD 1280 by 720 and took that and ended up doing some channels extractions and ending up with this, which I can then throw a background behind. I can throw our Christmas lights logo behind that I made in Illustrator. So that's what I started with. Now if we jump back over to After Effects, you can see we have our trees PNG here, and we'll just do a new composition based on this PNG because it's 1280 wide. Let's do new comp, and we'll just check our comp settings, make sure, yep, 1280 by 720, 30 frames per second, and we'll do a duration of 30 frames. So now we are 30 seconds. So now we have our composition, we have our tree in there, and what I did when I extracted it is I extracted that sky out, and then I kind of burned in the tree, made sure the edges were nice and dark because I knew I wanted it to have more of this night feel, and I wanted it to have the Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights. And so through a bit of research and conversation with friends, I figured out some different ways to pull this off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click and do a new solid. And we'll make sure that's the comp size. We'll set it to black, and we'll pull it under the trees. Then we're going to go to Effect Controls. I'll right click again, or you can go to Effects and pull down. But I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down to Generate, and then I'm going to go to Ramp. And that's going to generate a ramp from white to black. And if we would take our trees off, you'd see it's white at the very bottom there. I'm actually going to take that white value and just move it straight up to the top of the tree line. Then I'm going to take this top black value and just move it down just a little bit. Now I can go in, we're going to make this a very pure, bright blue in the skyline. And one thing I realized in doing a more nighttime scene is you want to just go like real dark and real black. And it was like, well, but these northern lights are really lighting up the sky, and so I need this to actually be pretty bright. It's a little brighter than you would expect. Then I'm just going to grab a nice deep blue here until I find something that looks good to me. And I just messed around. This is going to be good for now, but I just messed around with my settings until I found something that I liked. So now we have kind of our background going on. Now let's add a star field. And this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to go right click. Let's rename this layer real quick. We're just going to hit enter and we'll call this sky. And we're going to lock the trees so that we don't keep clicking on it. We're going to right click, do a new solid. We'll call this stars. And we'll pull that between the trees and the sky. And we're going to do an effect of, we're going to go down to noise and grain, and we're going to do fractal noise. And we're going to take this fractal noise and we're actually going to take the contrast and pull the contrast way up until we kind of get some smaller little specks here. So we got like some little specks going on, and we can actually pull our contrast in a little bit more until we, just mess around until we get a few little dots. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to transform. We're going to take our scale and we're going to scale it way down. So now you can see we kind of have a night sky look to it. Now this isn't perfect. I'm not going to be able to animate the brightness of these stars, but they're going to give me kind of the look I want. I want some variation to it, and I can always go in and add some glow to them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in a mode of screen. So now you can see we just have the white there. I'm going to take the transparency, knock that down to probably about 60%, and we got some stars going on in our sky. And while we're talking about the sky, let's make it just a little bit darker and make that looks a little bit better to me. Okay, so now we got our stars in our sky and we got our skyline, but now we actually need to add in those northern lights. And the point of all of this is we're going to try to animate our sky. So yet again, we're going to be talking about fractal noise over and over again today. I'm actually going to use it 3 times in this one composition to accomplish a lot of different effects. Now, fractal noise, for those of you who haven't used it before, is a lot of times used for clouds. If you are familiar with clouds inside Photoshop, this is a very similar type of thing. So you have clouds in Photoshop are the same as fractal noise inside After Effects. Difference is you can animate them. There's a lot more control over what that fractal noise looks like versus clouds in Photoshop. So let's right click, do a new solid, and we're going to call this the Northern Lights. And we'll make sure this is black, comp size, and we're going to pull that underneath the stars. And yet again, we're going to right click and we're going to go to noise and grain, and we're going to do fractal noise. And as you can see, we have our fractal noise going on. Well, I'm going to turn off a couple of these other layers, so we're just checking out our fractal noise. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to mess with the transform of this fractal noise. We're going to go in and we're going to mess with the scale. So instead of uniform scale where we're just scaling up and down, we're going to go and do uncheck our uniform scale so that we can scale the width and the height. So our height, we're going to just scale up until we start to get some streaks. We're going to, maybe do something right around there, and we'll bring this guy in. And we're starting to see some streaks in here, and then we can mess with our contrast, and you can start to see how we're getting some lines in here. And we're getting lines of what will become our northern lights. Now, right now you're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but sure, Brad, I'll believe you. Well, just continue to believe, and I will show you the way, Danielson. So here we go. We'll do 30, and let's do 30 and 300. So that's what we're looking like there. Now we're going to go to sub settings, and we're going to go to the sub scaling. And we're going to just mess with this just a little bit so that it kind of, if we mess with this, it actually messes with how blurry some of this is. So as you can see, we're getting some more like gradation / like smoothness to this effect. So now we're actually going to do Control-Shift-N, and that's going to create a new square mask, rectangular mask, and we're going to double click on the mask. We're going to just pull it halfway down, And then what we're going to do is hit MM for our layer, and that'll bring up our mask properties. And we're going to just change the feather on here until we have some nice, and we can actually shut the background off, and you'll see how we got some nice feathering going on, and we can see this effect a little bit better. One thing you'll notice here in our final is these rays are kind of shooting out. You can kind of tell that there's a curvature to the earth from these rays, and so we want to create that similar feel in here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to click back on our northern lights, close up fractal noise, and we're going to go down to distort and then down to warp. And we're actually going to do, instead of a arc warp, we're going to do a arc upper. So this is only arcing the top half of the image. And we're going to do some distortion to it. We're not going to do any horizontal distortion, but we will mess with our bend, kind of bend this out a bit. So we'll bend this all the way up to 100, and then the vertical distortion will bend it out even more by bringing in some of this vertical in here. So you can kind of see how our rays are now really shooting up. So now we can just take this layer and move it down, and we're actually, sorry, I'm working at full HD, so I'm going to skip down to half quality, and that will allow me to work a lot faster in here. So now let's turn on our other layers on our sky, and we're going to actually set this northern lights to a transfer mode of add, which really brightens it up. It makes it look a little too crazy. So we're going to hit T for opacity, and we're going to change our opacity to maybe 30%. And you can see how it's a lot lighter now, and we can mess with, and if we would mess with our fractal noise and mess with our evolution, we can rotate this, and you can see how our northern lights start moving. And so you get some really cool effect in there. We could actually move this up maybe a little bit if we wanted to have it have some of those streaks a little bit brighter. So let's maybe move it right about there, and whoops. And then we're actually going to double click on our mask, bring our mask down a little bit, and bring the layer up. So you can see you start to get some interesting things, and a lot of this effect was achieved by just playing around. I just messed around with these different properties until I got something that I personally liked. Like right now, I feel like there's maybe a few too many stars, so I'm going to go back into the fractal noise, and I'm going to take this scale, and I'm going to scale it down, but I'm also going to mess with the contrast so that I get rid of some of the stars. And we'll add the stars actually also to add, so that they kind of add to the brightness in those different areas. So now we have our basic look of our rays going on, but they're a little bit long and they're not quite as punchy as I would like them to be. So we're going to just continue to mess around with a few different settings here. We're going to change our subscaling down to 70, and that will give us a little bit more of a rayness and a little less of the smooth factor. Which is kind of what I would like right now, as well as I'm going to mess with, you can see if we mess with our scale height, we get some different interesting things. So we get some more globbiness the smaller we go, and that's kind of what I would like to see, because I want some more random variation in it when I start to do the evolution, that there's some more fullness to this. So that's looking a little bit better to me. And then we just lastly should probably scale it down just a little bit as far as the warp is going. So we'll just drop down our warp settings, and we will take our bend and not bend it quite so far. We'll just do a little bit less. And maybe we want to change our mask opacity and take that, and we're going to do a few less, so we'll just go to like 120, but then we're going to take our mask expansion and narrow that down. So now you can see how we're kind of getting, we're getting the fullness in the sky, and you can mess around with this as much as you want. So you're kind of getting the point there. So next we're going to take, and we need to add some clouds to the sky, because usually it's not totally clear, And yet again, we need to pull down the opacity on the stars because it's too much. So we're going to kick that down to about 40%. And we're going to add in our last one. So I'm actually going to duplicate my northern lights. I'm going to just do Control D. And as you can see, it gets a little bit hot there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our fractal noise and we're going to reset our fractal noise. We'll turn our warp off as well. And I'm actually going to pull off everything except this one layer for right now so that we can kind of see what's going on. Let's delete our mask and, whoops. Delete our mask. We'll delete the right mask. There we go. So now you can see we have our clouds here, and right now they're set to add. We're just going to set them to normal, and we will mess around with their brightness and contrast. So what's our transparency? And our transparency is set real low. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mess around with the scale of these because we want some nice big puffy clouds in here. So we're just going to go into our transform options. We got uniform scaling, which is great. We're going to scale these up, mess with our contrast until we get some nice big puffy clouds, and those are looking pretty nice to me. So now we'll go back, we will do Control-Shift-N, which makes a new mask. We'll double click, scale this guy down, turn on our warp, and we'll turn back on all our other layers as well. Now I could be soloing this. I don't know why I don't just hit the solo button because it makes it a lot faster when you're doing all this. So now we just need to mess with our mask feather, which again we'll just feather that up just a little bit, and then we'll maybe take our mask expansion down, and then we'll just set this to soft light, which will give it'll overlay it inside of those things pretty well, and then we can mess with our transparency, maybe put our transparency down to like a 90, and maybe put down this to like a 35. So now as you can see, we have some cool different things going on. Now we just need to animate. So animating this, super easy, doesn't take much time. We're just going to mess with our evolution settings. We're going to go to evolution options. We're going to do cycle. Oh, let's click on the right one first. This is our actual northern lights, and this is our clouds. So for our northern lights layer, we're going to go do evolution options. We're going to say cycle evolution. And we're going to say, like, we'll do 6 evolutions. So now we're just going to lay down a keyframe for our evolution. So we're going to lay down 1 keyframe here, and then we're going to go down to 30 seconds, our last, and we're going to lay down 1 at 6. And we have 6 full rotations. You'll see that our clouds are, this is actually our clouds layer. I have them in the wrong order. Look at me doing this all backwards. Okay, so this is northern lights. And this is our clouds. So now we've done that with our clouds. Now we just need to do that same thing here. So we're going to just check our evolution options. We're going to set our cycle evolution. We want to do 6 evolutions because that'll give us a good amount. We'll reset this to 0. And we'll set a evolution keyframe. We'll hit U, go down to the last frame of our timeline, lay down 1 with 6 full revolutions, and now you can watch and see that we have some craziness going on. And if you don't like some of our rays are looking a little bit much right now, because we've only been looking at this 1 frame. So what we'll do, and our clouds are actually not faded on the outsides, which is a problem. So we're just going to scale this up. So we'll scale that guy up, take his transparency down just a little bit. And then our northern lights, we'll just mess with our contrast and our scale. And we'll make that a little bit bigger and make our subscaling a little bit smoother. So we'll kick that back up to about 90 where we had it before. Should have just stuck with what I had before. So now if we go through here, you can see we got some nice northern lights going on. But yet again, it's all about messing with it. You kind of see how the effects work. We took that fractal noise, we scaled it up, and then we warped it out, and then we made our northern lights out of that, as well as we used fractal noise to make a starry sky. And so that's a quick, dirty, simple, easy way to make a starry sky. We actually could take our stars and we could rotate the sky if we wanted to, and we could change our rotation place. So we could take our rotation point and put it down here in the middle so that it slowly just rotates from right there in the middle. And you could do something like that. So those are some different ideas for you. Hopefully that'll help you make your own Northern Lights styled background. And this is actually our freebie for this week. So go to the website, download this freebie of the Northern Lights background. Use this for your Christmas service or any of the services coming up here in the future. So hopefully that helped you guys out, and stay tuned for some inspiration. Well, I got a little inspiration for you this week. The elections are over, but Obama's brand is carrying on. And if you didn't recognize how strong the brand of Obama, he was on, I think, 4 different Time magazine covers. His brand and logo was everywhere. He did, if you hated him, if you loved him, doesn't matter. He was the most successful branding campaign in presidential history. And here is the making of the Obama logo and what went into deciding how to do it. And this is on ISO50.com's blog, the visual work of Scott Hansen. You can check out these 2 different video clips on the making of the Obama logo and their website and the redesign process. No matter what, if you hate them, if you love them, this is a great way for you to understand the design process and how to go about designing logos for use for anything from a series to a presidential campaign. And like I said before, it was the most successful campaign. People knew his logo, knew his branding. Yes, we can. Everything across the board was branded very, very well. And so it's a really interesting piece. I would encourage you guys to check it out. You can check that out on blog.iso50.com and check out that post. I'll have it linked for you guys on the website. So check out a little inspiration, work on your design ideas, and understand that design process. Well, we wanted to say thank you to our sponsors, and our first sponsor is DansInkandToner.com. Now, Dan's Ink and Toner is ink and toner and a whole lot more. And the whole lot more is biggestbook.com. And you can find everything from office supplies to print. Dan actually supplies printers and all of that stuff if you want it. So you can head over to biggestbook.com to find out more about that. But I would encourage you guys to check out dansinkandtoner.com and click on wholesale and find out more about the wholesale program. The wholesale program has so much to offer for the churches because we don't want to spend more money than we already do. I know that our budgets are tight, but I really want to encourage you guys to check out Dan's site and his products, because you're going to save almost half, if not more, than what you would pay at current retailers like Staples or any of those kind of Best Buy, any of the big box stores that you're buying ink from. And I know this because, well, that's how much money we've saved using dansinkandtoner.com. And I know that some of you guys are like, well, I don't know if I want to go through the hassle of blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, it's really pretty much hassle-free. All you do is fill out a form, talk to Dan for a minute, figure out what level you should be at, and then sign up for the program, and he starts sending you ink when you need it. You can do all of your ordering on the website. You never have to leave your church to go get it. So it's a great deal. I really want to encourage you guys to check it out. So sign up for the wholesale program. Use the promo of Church Media Design, and you guys will get 6 months free, or 3 months, 3 months risk-free trial, so you don't have to pay an annual fee or anything like that. You get 3 months, you get wholesale ink and toner shipped to your door. When you're done with it, you can cancel it if you don't like it. So it's a great deal, so I want to encourage you guys to check that out. Our next sponsor is CollideMagazine.com, where the church and media converge. Well, or where media and the church converge. They both converge someplace. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the middle. At least at Collide's website it is. I want to encourage you guys to check out the website as well as check out their blog, where you can find all of the latest episodes of The Collide Show. which is hosted by Scott and Daniel, and they go through the latest trends in technology and worship and all of that kind of stuff. They have great interviews with different people in the industry, so I really want to encourage you guys to check out the Collide Show, subscribe in iTunes, watch it on Vimeo, wherever you want. So check out CollideMagazine.com and DanZinkenToner.com. Well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. And I really want to say thank you because this is our last episode of 2008. It's been a great first year. We have a few episodes left in this first season, as we would call it in the internet television industry. I don't know, I just make it up. But we have a few more episodes. They're just going to be short tips and tricks on how to do some different things that we haven't covered in shows, but I know would be helpful to you guys. We're going to be taping those right after we're done taping this and releasing them out through the month of January while I'm on my honeymoon and I get married, which, hallelujah, it's going to be amazing. And while we get the website ready. So we're going to be getting that website ready as well as rolling out a whole bunch of new stuff that I know you guys are going to want to know about. And the best way to stay in touch is to follow me on Twitter. You can follow me. It's twitter.com/CMDTV, or you can follow Adam at twitter.com/AdamCMDTV. And that's the best way to find out what's going on with the show. Even if you don't want to sign up for Twitter, you can go to my page and see all of my latest posts, and that's a great way of staying in touch. So I'll be releasing notes on when things are going on, when things are going to launch for the first time, because most likely they're going to launch before the show actually re-airs in the new year. So I really want to encourage you guys to stay in touch that way, and it's going to be great. So please, please stay in touch over this new year. Have a great holiday. Have a happy new year. And send me an email, Brad at ChurchMediaDesign.tv, and leave comments on the website. I'll still be staying in touch with all of those different areas, so make sure to send all those things in. In the new year, we're going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff, including web design, email campaigns, all sorts of different stuff. So looping videos, the whole 9 yards. So just make sure you guys stay in touch. Tell your friends about the show. Tell them it's a great time to get caught up on old episodes and things you've missed. And make sure you guys ask questions if you have any problems with the way that I explain things. And again, go back to that first episode and laugh at how terrible it was, most likely. So as for me, the three wise men and Jesus and, of course, Yoda, we're saying, well, see you later.